Are you ready?
Oh, I suppose so.
Okay, so welcome back to episode 6, 7.
Episode 6. It's the final one of this series, depending if you're American or English. Yeah, it's the last. It's also the last one of 2020. So welcome to that. We can say goodbye to this rocky old year.
By the time you're going to be listening to this, it's going to be 2021. So happy New Year, guys.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be the first day. First day of the new year. So this will be a little reminisce. Be grateful that it's over.
Yeah.
Hopefully 2021 will start off a lot better, although it's not looking that great right now. I don't know if you've been listening to the news today. Have you, Anna?
Yeah, I've been getting the BBC notifications. I just heard Ikra talking about schools because it concerns her.
Yeah, like a load of the secondary and colleges are now being delayed another week or so. So they can prepare for like mass testing and stuff for kids to go back, but obviously infants and the lower primary schools they're still going in as normal, but a lot of people aren't starting until we are on the 18th of January. So good luck to the parents that were hoping to get rid of their kids in a week.
Bless them.
Yeah, so that's not the best. And also another announcement today, courtesy of Matt Hancock, is that we're now a lot of places are moving into tier 3 and tier 4, and it's now 3/4 of the population.
Well, we're going to move into tier 5. I bet you there'll be a tier 10 by the end of 2021 by the looks of it.
Yeah, maybe there will be, or maybe it'll all be solved by then, because in addition to 3/4 of us now being in tier 3 or 4, we now have a second coronavirus vaccine approved by the MHRA.
Yeah.
That's great. It's the Oxford and AstraZeneca, which is easier to get out to like the care homes and stuff. And it's supposed to be rolled out in the new year with enough to treat. They're saying that it should be able to treat millions in the new year, and it's easier to get out to the care homes and get out to staff because it can be stored in fridges, and it doesn't have to be held at like -70 whatever it is degrees that the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine does. Yeah, so it's a lot easier to get out and to be widely distributed. So that plus the Pfizer one, I mean, we've got most of the country inoculated, and I think we've got 150 million doses or something like that of the Oxford and AstraZeneca, which isn't bad. So yeah, we've got 2 vaccines. I mean, yes, we've also now got a mutant strain, but that's not the point.
There's another strain in India by a UK person I read.
Nice. I mean, hopefully we can stop that coming over, because there was another one in South Africa.
Yeah, my mum was talking about that.
But, hopefully we've sort of sorted ourselves out about not letting strains from other countries get into into like our land now. It's just about dealing with the one that we've got breeding on the home shore, I suppose. If we can get the strain that started in like London under control, and just like keep ourselves locked down and isolated, and if every country keeps themselves locked down and isolated, hopefully this mutant strains won't merge and make everything even worse for people, and hopefully 2021 will be a good year. We can get over this. I mean, despite the fact that we've now got 72,548 people dead of coronavirus in the UK since the start of the pandemic in March this year, and I say this year, it'll be 2021 when you listen to this, so last year, and as of the last 24 hours there have been an additional 981 deaths, but keep in mind that a couple of those are reported later because it was Christmas a couple of days ago and people don't work as efficiently on Christmas. So some of those are late reported. But it's crazy. Like,
it's mental.
It's absolutely insane. But this new vaccine is supposed to save tens of thousands of lives in the new year, as well as what's already being saved by the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine that's been, being distributed for the last 2 weeks. As you might know if you'd seen our news package that went up on the 14th of December. So there you go. If you want more information on the first vaccine that's already in circulation, pop on down, hear from the experts why vaccines are important, hear from them.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like, that's the verge of where we're entering 2021 on. Everybody in tier 3 and tier 4, apart from like a couple of the islands off the coast of the UK. The rest of us are all in tier 3 and tier 4 with an uncertain start to school, a lot of people dead, but we've got another vaccine. So that's how we're walking into 2021.
Yeah. Scared, but with a little hope.
Yeah, a little bit of hope and a lot of silent tears. But there we go. Maybe we should backpedal now and do a full recap starting in January, I suppose. We did a brief run into it, and we sort of talked about the fact that the world's been awful ever since sort of like the bell struck midnight. So
bell struck midnight. Love that.
I mean, I probably mixed a couple things there, but never mind. I'm quite tired.
I'm knackered myself.
Yeah, it's the 30th of December when we're recording this. In case
at 5:15.
Yeah, so this information might all be totally different. There could be another 25,000 people sadly taken by the virus by the time
we might be in an apocalypse, you'll never know.
We could be in tier 15, we could be in tier 25, as Anam has quite solemnly highlighted. Things seem to be getting worse all the time, or by the time you listen to this, half the world could be cured. You could be listening to this a lot later than it goes out, and you'll be like, wow, 2020, what a time that was, but it's over now. That would be great. So January saw a lot of just like insanity.
There wasn't much insanity. I mean, it was obviously there was the coronavirus. Everyone knew about it, but it wasn't in our general waters yet, so people weren't like scared of it. But obviously when that one person in Yorkshire got infected was it March?
Yeah, I think that was March,
yeah, March, April. Then it was like, okay, one person,
yeah,
and it became 2, then it became like 1,000, then it became like 2,000, and then we went into lockdown.
Yeah, now we're in like tens of thousands, but there you go. Actually, it's hundreds of thousands. I think it's millions are infected. Or something like, it's crazy numbers infected. I think they had another 50,000 cases in the last 24 hours. So that just shows you how crazy it is now. But yeah, I mean, January was crazy for different reasons. It was more like the Australian wildfires and Donald Trump getting into yeah, well that sort of kicked off more in February, definitely, like as in the BLM protests with George Floyd. That was February, was insane as well. But yeah, in January there was more just sort of like, it was the Twitter storm between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un and the threat of nuclear war, and everybody thought that was going to be what, destroyed us this time.
Was that this year?
That was this year.
Every year they're fighting, man. Honestly, I can't. Like, yeah, it's always, something's always happening between them.
The world just sort of went a bit insane with that, and everyone was like, oh, World War III, that'll be what gets us in 2020. Funnily enough, not quite, I mean, there are plenty of wars still going on, but yeah, we got a pandemic instead. So that's fun. And also there was the helicopter crash with Kobe and his daughter and several other people that were going to play that same match. A load of kids, really sad, and it sort of shook the world. And we thought that was going to be the most insane stuff to happen, and it was only January, between fires and threats of...
James Bond passed away as well.
Well, Sean Connery, that was really recent though. That was like December, I think. November, December.
Still happened.
Yeah, it was really recent. But there's been a lot of like pretty famous people, and a lot of people that are just normal people that just got taken away this year, lost their lives this year. It's been a rough one. It has. So like you said, in February we had BLM and George Floyd, and that whole thing with Breonna Taylor and Tamir Rice, and everything came up, and Eric Garner. And then of course after all of that in February, we sort of went into March, which the virus
that was just March.
It was just March, At the start of March was so crazy, because do you remember it was Friday the 13th of March, which seemed very appropriate now. And we were it might not be Friday. I think it was Friday the 13th of March, and we were doing our first practice TV news day at uni.
Yeah.
As you guys probably know, we're both journalism students. So this was the TV news day.
Yeah.
And I remember on this news day, we were very, very like specifically, very vividly, it was all about the coronavirus. But it wasn't about the coronavirus and us, because on that day, we were reporting that there were only 10 cases in the UK. So on March the 13th, 2020, we had only 10 cases in the UK. 10. And it was crazy. And we were like, there was a story that came out about in Italy, how they were saying that if you knowingly if you were knowingly like passed on coronavirus to somebody and they died as a result, you'd be punished by law the same way you would if you knowingly like transmitted AIDS. And we were like, oh my god, that's insane. Like, why are they doing this? Like, that seems a bit extreme. Like, they're going crazy. And then obviously a couple weeks later, Italy's like the absolute epicenter, everybody's going it, and suddenly we're doing exactly the same as Italy was doing, and we're just like, wow, this is normal now. You know, you can't go out like that. You can't do this. If you do that, you're ostracized by society. You're actually like, you could be the result of people dying if you're not acting in exactly the right way. And it's crazy that the stuff we were joking about on that day and being like, that seems a bit extreme, is now just like, maybe we should have done that. Like,
yeah, we've seen a rise of the COVID idiots, people who think it's a fraud, people who don't want to get tested, people who don't want to get vaccinated. You really see people's true colours in this as well. Like, there are people that I know and I'm just like, mate, what's wrong with you? It's a real thing. Stop getting all conspiracy on me.
I feel like it's because obviously March 23rd, which is exactly 10 days after we did that news day, the Prime Minister stood up and he said, you know, go home and don't come out. Can we also talk about the fact that we've had two prime ministers? We've had two prime ministers this year. I keep forgetting that. We started the year with Theresa May, bless her heart, you know, tried her best, in my opinion. Tried to come with this deal, got the withdrawal. Obviously, Brexit took her down before she sorted it out.
Oh, we got a Brexit deal as well. I have to talk about that.
And we do have to mention that. That will cut when we get to the end of this. I mean, we're only in bloody March. I mean, Jesus Christ. So... yeah, 23rd was when Bojo was like, lads, go home, lock your doors, stop panic buying loo roll. But of course, everybody panic bought loo roll.
Oh, that pissed me off.
There was no pasta either, and I like live on pasta, so it was absolutely. I mean, what were they like for you? What was it like?
There was no chicken. There was no chicken in the butcher shops.
I mean,
and obviously there were no like onions or potatoes. My dad bought like a big sack of potatoes, and my mum works in like Pound Stretcher, so it was fine to get toilet roll and stuff. But the one thing I knew was that there was no chicken in the butchers, and we had to like not eat chicken for a bit.
I mean, the vegetarian in me is like, that's a good thing, but obviously I understand your pain.
But I think people were. Obviously, I didn't go to the shop, so I didn't know. But I'm assuming people were being idiots and panic buying as well.
I mean, it was quite surreal for me because obviously our living situations at the time were really different. We were both living in London then in March when the first lockdown kicked off. But you were living with your family, your two sisters and your parents, and I was living on my own in a studio flat on the 11th floor of student accommodation, basically in Wembley. And it was like insane. I felt myself slowly going mad, like the longer I didn't go out. And then because I was like, oh my God, if I leave my flat, I'm going to have to use like communal stairs, communal doors, communal lifts. And I was like, that's good. Like it was just like built up in my head so much. And I was like, I'm not going out. I'm just going to stay in here. And I was like getting food delivered. And
yeah, you were you got really serious about it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going out. And I remember, like you said, the shops just like sold out so much. There was nothing. I managed to find this like online. There was this fresh fruit and veg like distributor that worked only in London, and they were amazing. I like went on this thing and just like ticked off the fruit and veg that I wanted, and they delivered it. Yeah, it was a little bit more expensive, but delivery was free within a certain postcode in London. So 10 out of 10 recommend if we end up in more lockdowns in 2021. You know, just get on those. There's so many websites out there of people that deliver fresh fruit and veg, especially when you can't get it in supermarket, because like there's too many people just like bulk buying it and freezing it. But yeah, they were amazing. They basically, that's what stopped me being malnourished, that those people. And my dad, bless his heart, he sent me so many ridiculous care packages. There was one that had
I saw that.
Oh my god, it was so funny. When I couldn't find any pasta in the shops, they sent me like 10 bags of pasta. I had too much pasta by the end, and I felt like one of the hoarders. But it's because my family were just like, oh my god, Shannon said she can't get pasta, everybody send it. I was like 10 bags deep at the end of it, and I was like, oh great, you know.
You didn't have loo roll for a bit now, did you?
No, I didn't. So basically, it's so funny. 10 days before lockdown, when it was like our TV news day, the night before I had a crazy migraine. And when I have a migraine, I sit in my shower in the dark and just like let the water cure me, basically. Exactly. And so I, in the morning, with all my lights on, I saw that I'd accidentally drenched my store of loo roll, which I also kept in my little bathroom. My little bathroom was a bit crap, so the water drainage wasn't great, and like the loo rolls all got soaked. And I was like, the next day when we went into uni for the TV news day, I was like, oh yeah, I need to get some loo roll on my way home. I need to pick up loo roll. Because I drenched all mine, so I didn't have any anymore.
Yeah.
And I just like put it off, and I was like, oh, I'll get some later. And then like literally like 2 days later, and it was like
lockdown.
Well, I mean, even before lockdown, we didn't have any bloody loo roll. Everybody was taking it. Yeah, because someone in Australia filmed a video of somebody panic buying, and then everybody in this country started panic buying before we even locked down. And I was like, what even is this? So I couldn't get any bloody loo roll. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I went to like my local Lidl in Wembley, and I was like, there's no loo roll here either. There's nothing anywhere. I ended up getting like those Andrex like tissue things, and I was like, is this how I'm living now? It felt so apocalyptic, you know. And that was just the first month of the first bloody lockdown. So, but after a bit of mild insanity, I mean, we could talk about April, but I don't think there's much point talking about April, is there? Because it was just a continuation of the end of March. We just sort of sat in lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to panic buying, like industries will say, you're not going to run out of it. We have plenty of supply, like calm down.
Yeah.
Even Trump was saying, like, mate, can you calm down? We have enough.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the same man that was telling you to inject bleach, and even he was saying panic buying is just silly.
The fucking bleach.
Yeah.
But here we are, you know. So yeah, that was March. March was the month of panic buying and the first lockdown, when we still had that blind hope that maybe it would only last 2 weeks. Maybe we would go back to normal.
That's what I thought. I thought in July everything would be back to normal. I genuinely thought that.
Yeah, you know, so like we said, that was March, and then April we were just in lockdown, nothing really changed.
I think April was kind of the start of adjusting into online classes, because obviously my sister was doing it, my cousins were doing it, and then you get the announcement that GCSEs and A-levels are cancelled.
Yeah, oh shit, yeah, that was April. Damn.
And then obviously everyone's like celebrating. I was pissed at the A-level people for not having to do A-levels. I felt for my cousins who are doing GCSEs, because I wish they did not do A-levels instead.
Yeah.
And obviously it was a bit curious, like, what would my teachers grade me? Because one teacher might think you're dumb, another teacher might think you're really smart. And, usually when it comes to GCSEs, you tend to prove teachers wrong. But how can you do that when they're the ones who have the power to give you the grade?
Yeah.
Which is like, if I didn't do my GCSEs and I was in my science teacher's position, my science teacher would have given me like seeds because she thought I was thick.
Yeah.
And I managed to prove her wrong. So imagine if, God forbid, I was in Corona and she was in charge of my grade. Would have been suckish.
Definitely. And we will come back to teacher assessed grades, which is what they were called by Gavin Williamson.
Well, that's it. That's in August. We're still in May. August, April.
We'll come back to that in summer when we talk about results days and the revolution with that, I suppose. So yeah, we did April. May was a continuation of April, minus the exams for most people, for everybody actually, because they didn't do exams unless you could do them online. I think a couple unis kept exams online, because I have a friend that studies economics in Newcastle, and I believe she still had exams, although I think they looked a bit different. Because obviously the teachers had like a month then to sort of work it out, and most of them are online anyway, even if you do them in the building. But I believe there was some, assessments were still going on, definitely. They just looked a bit different. I mean, we had a couple assessments ourselves. So it was still sort of like shitty if you're in higher or further education and higher education. But, we were sort of used to it by now. Everybody was painting, craft TV shows were like popping off. Everybody was making
bread.
Yeah, banana bread was a big seller. People doing bread everywhere. I mean, YouTube was taking off again because everyone's watching that. Online workouts, online personal trainers. I mean, we were just getting into the flow, basically. I feel like May people were like, we got this. We don't know when the heck we're getting out, so let's just adjust. And then obviously came June, and with June we got some better weather. Things seemed a little bit better. June, July, things started to be okay. June, July, we had some easing of restrictions. We came out of the full lockdown, and it was just like, here are some rules, like wear a mask in some buildings, keep your distance. It was like, what was the saying? Hands, face, space? Or was this just before that? It was basically wash your hands, wear a mask, 2-meter distance, jobs are good, and you can go about your life.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And people could go down the pub. I spent a lot of the summer like at pubs, going out for dinner, that sort of thing, and it was nice.
I stay at home.
You stayed at home. I mean,
I always stay at home.
Yeah. Well, in May, you see, I sort of missed this in May. So in May, I moved back to Norfolk to live with my mum and my sister, who's younger, but she's basically like the same age. And so my life sort of changed a bit because I'm in a really rural place. I'm away from all my friends and family. I'm not attending university in person. Everything's online, and it has been for me since since they turned it online March 23rd. I haven't been in person learning since. So my summer was obviously different to Anam's because of my location and my situation and everything, as well as whatever. So the restrictions that Anam has when it gets to the regional stuff later on in the year was totally different to mine, especially in recent sort of weeks when I was in tier 2 and you, as you're in London, still were in tier 4. But obviously we're both now in tier 4, so it's fine.
Love that. So much in common.
Woo. So June, July was pretty chill. Restrictions eased. Everybody's fine. Everybody's seemingly coping. The world seemed a bit brighter. We thought we were going to be okay. And then August was results day. August was the results. And this is for GCSEs and A-levels. So the people wanting to go...
A-levels.
Yeah. And that's probably the most important part, is the A-levels bit, because the results they get there literally determine their future. Like, your A-levels say whether you get into uni and which uni you qualify for. That was it was a big old thing, because obviously people didn't get to sit their exams. So these were generated by... There was an algorithm at the start, wasn't there?
Yeah, a racist, classist, probably homophobic class algorithm.
And it basically was like the area that you live in, the area that your school's in, determined your grade. It had literally nothing to do with the students. So, like, all the kids are eating.
It's so stupid.
I mean, Jesus.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Just start and then I'll finish my rant. Give me a minute. Like, you continue.
You can go on your rant, please.
No, basically, so I live in East London, which is seen as poor, right? Everyone knows that. But my borough has some of the best sixth forms ever.
Yeah.
Right? So I have... Should I say what you... Should I give my location? I don't know.
It's totally... I mean, nobody knows that, and you might not still be there in January, so... Wink, wink.
Maybe. So we have NCS and we have Brampton sixth form. Both. They only accept the A's and A stars. They only accept the brightest of students, even though it's in a poor area, right? And same with like high school. Like the only girls' school in my area, it's one of the best schools there. It's not just because it's only girls' school, but because like the teaching's good and people get good grades from that. But just because it's in a lower income area, the students are not going to do well.
It's basically what the algorithms seem to think. Yeah.
And obviously there was a massive uproar. I think was it in Wales when they said that they would do it again because of the uproar.
Yeah, you're quite close. It was actually Nicola Sturgeon up in Scotland that was the first person to like go back on the algorithm. And she said, do you know what? You're all upset. We understand this. Because even in the UK, like you said, even like the best schools in poorer areas or less economically developed or whatever were given like shitty scores, even to students that were A-star students. If like the average for their area was a C, that A-star student was given a C. And that sucks. I mean, what happens to like individual like anything? There's nothing for the students. It's totally not okay. I mean, me myself, I went to school in a less economically developed area. My college was in Galston, Great Yarmouth. If you know it, you know it. It's pretty rough. I mean, yeah. So like the average there is sort of like drop out with 3 kids by the age of 20. That's the average grade in my area. Sorry to anybody also from there. Like, we're individuals, but that's the standard. I'm sorry. It just is. Yeah, so if I went by like the average from my area, I would not have come out with A's or B's or anything like that. And I wouldn't have gotten into university just because of the area that I was in. And that is disgusting. When you think like with this algorithm, a lot of like what I call them like coasters, so people that sort of just go through school, especially in like Eton, that were getting C's and D's, ended up with A's and A stars just because people in that area typically get A's and A stars. And it's like, what? So you've got the exceptional student at like a less sort of like renowned college given a D just because, and you've got absolute waste of spaces with buckets of money in the family that are getting A stars across the board just because of where they are. Yeah. Like, what? So yeah, like
it's so stupid.
It is beyond
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
How did they expect to get away with that?
Well, do you know what? Because they probably thought that nobody listens to the children will just shut up and put up, we're not going to do anything. But what they didn't remember is that us, generation, what are we now, Z? We're Generation Z. We're not millennials, we're Generation Z. Right? We are...
X, Y?
No, X and Y were a lot earlier. Generation X was before millennials, I think. And so we're Generation Z. We are the most activist generation there has ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Greta, look at us, Extinction Rebellion, BLM. We're all like, this is us now. And obviously people from other generations also protest, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we are the most activist generation there has ever been, basically. So for them to think that we would just shut up and put up for something that was so just like, it screamed inequality, it screamed inequity, it was classist, it was racist, it was everythingist. It was not okay. But yeah,
everythingist.
It was everythingist. And like you said, another country within the UK was the first to bow down, and it was Nicky Sturgeon, Scotland. So what they did is they ditched the algorithm, as they should have done. Mini applause to Nick Sturgeon, who has since come under fire for other things, but we'll talk about that in December. Yeah, she went to teacher assessed grades, which, like you said, also are not perfect. But you know, it's better than the algorithm. So I guess we just take what we can.
When it comes to, like, for example, when my cousin did her GCSE, was going to do it, there was this one student that she knew. She would get A's and A stars, yeah. She got one B in a mock test, yeah. Suddenly she went from an A star to an A grade. And it's like, that one B just changed everything for her, even though she was getting an average of A stars all round. And it's like, that science department in that school, like, fucked them all over. Like, my cousin was predicted higher grades, but maybe because of one lower grade, they took it all down.
I mean, that's unfair. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
At least, at least it's a little bit more differentiated and a bit more like individual than the algorithm. But it's not the best thing in the world. But then, you know, exams themselves are flawed because some people don't test well, and it shouldn't. I don't think that tests are an accurate indicator.
Yeah, and I don't think so either. Now, like, with A-levels for me, I never was able to crack the code and how to get an A in English A-levels. Like, I tried everything, and I was just never able to crack it. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, you see this girl getting an A. I got her answer, tried looking at it, tried to mirror it, still wouldn't get the grades. Like I never managed to crack the code in the end. I got away with a C, but during class I was just never able to crack the code, and it's like, why?
Yeah, it's all about just hitting
It's
the
like
marks.
Yeah, it's like a flawed marking system, I
It
think.
is, and not everybody tests
examination
well.
system.
Yeah, exams are fucked. You've heard it from us. You've heard it from probably everybody else. We disagree with exams, but they're what we've got at the minute. And there are BTECs and coursework and things that are serving to replace exams in a lot of ways and serve as an alternative option for people that don't test well. But the fact that everybody still has to do like GCSEs and stuff, it sucks and it should be dropped. So yeah. But anyway, that was the big August rebellion over grades and the algorithm and just like shit. So that was the massive thing there. And then after August came September. And we all went back to school and we were all a bit confused because things didn't seem to be much better case-wise when it comes to the pandemic. And yet...
It's starting to rise again.
Yeah, schools of 2,000 people were still being allowed to mix. Which, I mean, I thought that was a bit
It's
crazy.
like a bubble.
They called it a bubble.
They were treating it like a bubble.
That's not how people work though, is it? Because you got 2,000 people mixing, going back to 2,000 families, and then those families, the parents are going off to their works with the people that they also bubble with in their work, and then those people are going back to their families, etc., etc. And suddenly you've got like the entire region infected, which is exactly what the government has found out and has tried to implement regional lockdowns now to try and combat that. Not that it actually worked. Was it September we started the tiered system, the first one?
No, was it like last month?
November?
Yeah, I don't remember anything in September. I know that it was rising, but I believe the tiers happened last month.
I thought because...
Or early this month.
I think we had a tiered system before... I think we might have had a tiered system in October. Because October 31st, Halloween, they decided to plunge us into a second national lockdown, and there was definitely tiers before that. So there was definitely the first round of the tiered system before October 31st, because we had tiers before we went into second national lockdown. So it must have been September, October time. Here's the thing, guys. There have been so many tiers, so many lockdowns, so many months of just being locked up. We can't exactly remember everything. And maybe we should have researched this. Maybe we should, take this stuff more seriously and get our facts straight. But you know what? At the same time, we're just thinking...
I remember I was talking to my friend in America and she was asking me about it. And I'm just like, I don't know. I was trying to explain it, but I couldn't.
Yeah. It's crazy. You get just sort of like a mind fog of, well, I haven't left my house since March, so I don't actually know. All I know is March till May.
You know, but you don't know.
Exactly. There's like a vague remembering. But definitely September, October, some point in there, we were in the first lot of tiers, which only went up to tier 3. It was tier 1 to tier 3. And everybody was seemingly in tier 2 the whole time. Apart from the north and Leicester, because that's when Leicester and that lot and the northwest basically went down and they were all put into tier 3, and Leicester was in lockdown for literally so long, and then they never really came out. It's just we all went in and joined them. So rip the businesses in Leicester. I hope you guys are getting more of a boost now, because that was just crazy, to the point that they mentioned it like months later on the news, and I was like, shit, they're still in lockdown? Like, has anybody checked on them? Like, are they okay? What's going on? It's just been absolutely manic. So the first round of tiers didn't work, and that's how come we had that second lockdown. But the second lockdown was different from the first, because the November lockdown, which was announced on October 31st, as I've said, was only 4 weeks long. And they said it would stay 4 weeks, and it was only 4 weeks. But when we got out, we weren't given our freedom again. We were given the second lot of tier system, which is the tier system we're currently living by.
It's honestly the blind leading the blind. Like, I don't think Bojo don't know what to do. We don't know what to do because he don't know what to do. So we're all just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, we'll just do that. I mean, it's an absolute mess, but there are people trying to sort things out. Like, we've got all of the Cobra meetings and the experts are getting together, and Chris Whitty, bless his heart, I mean, he's got the weight of the nation on his shoulders. I do not, envy him that, because he's just a scientist at the end of the day. He's not a politician.
It's starting to become a thing where, like, you're starting to know who has COVID, like your own family. But I know a lot of my family members are getting it. I'm not sure about you. but it's starting to come on your doorstep.
I'm quite lucky in that I don't think I know anybody directly that has coronavirus or has had coronavirus, apart from apart from my dad and my stepmom, who we believe had it in March, but they didn't get they had an antibody test or something in literally 2 months ago, and they didn't have any antibodies, but the antibodies probably wouldn't have survived because we think they had it end of Feb, early March, because my dad did a gig for the local university. He's in a band. Exploits, check them out. They're on Instagram, they're on YouTube, they're on Spotify, they're on Tidal, etc. They did a gig for the UEA, University of East Anglia, and at that gig he thinks he contracted it, which would make sense because UEA
that went on lockdown as well, isn't it?
Exactly, I mean, UEA had a lot of cases, and our regional news, Look East, has been just interviewing UEA students the entire time, because every single day there's UEA students on full lockdown, full isolations, because they've all got COVID. So that's fun. So yeah, I think they had it, but other than that, no, I don't think recently there haven't been anybody in my family that's had it. Not to say nobody in my family has died over this past year, or that has got really ill over this past year, because they have, and a lot of people close to me and relatively close to me have sort of just died of other causes, and because of the pandemic you can't really say goodbye to them, and you can't, there's not really a lot you can do to mark it. And also when everybody else is sort of dying in turmoil, it sort of feels weird to grieve for something not COVID related. It seems less bad, or less important. It's well, at least they didn't have COVID. It's yeah, but that's not really the point.
It's still bad either way.
Yeah, and you can't go and say goodbye. You can't have the funerals. You can't. I mean, you could have funerals at some points in the year, when restrictions were slightly different, between the lockdowns in the summer, or with the first set of tiers, or earlier in this tiered system if you were in one of the tier 1 or tier 2 areas. You could sort of have more people for that sort of thing, but it's just been really sucky, hasn't it? It has been, and it is getting worse. So yeah, November was the second lockdown, big one. We all sort of just sat at home, but we knew it was only for 4 weeks. So I think that was easier mentally to deal with than the first one, because the first one we didn't know when it was going to end.
Yeah.
So hope just sort of slowly drained away, and we sort of got to a point where we were are we ever going to get out? Are we ever going to... is this just life now? We just stay in our homes, go to work if we have to, and then come home? Is that it? But yeah, so that was the second lockdown, and then we came out of that, and we came into Tiers Part 2. I mean, what were Tiers Part 2 like in London?
Well, we're apparently going to be moved into Tier 5, so that says a lot.
What actually is Tier 5?
I don't know. I think it's stricter.
But how? Because you were in Tier 4 a lot before I went in Tier 4, because you're at the epicenter again, and I'm in rural Norfolk, but the east is slowly becoming super bad. We've got a lot of cases popping up, especially with the factories around us and all that kind of thing. But Tier 4 seems pretty restrictive, as we are both now living it. You can't do anything, you can't meet anybody inside or outside. All you've got is your support bubble. In Tier 5, do schools get closed? Is that the difference? Because you're already working from home if you can. You already can't go and get a coffee. You can't sit. Yeah. We can't go and have a drink, even if it's with a substantial meal now. What's the difference between that and Tier 5? Surely there's nothing else they can take.
One of the main differences between Tier 4 and the first national lockdown is that schools, universities and places of worship can remain open. Right?
Yeah, but what's the difference between Tier 4 and Tier 5? What's the difference between Tier 4 and Tier 5?
Other suggestions for Tier 5 include banning people from leaving their homes for non-essential reasons, matching the restrictions at the outbreak of the pandemic. This meant people could only go out to get food and urgent supplies to provide care or for daily exercise. Weddings and funeral services, which can currently take place in restricted numbers, could also be banned. Sports facilities, such as golf and tennis, could be closed as in the second lockdown. So basically be like the first lockdown.
Wow.
If we're in Tier 5.
Do you still get support bubbles and stuff though? I assume you must be able to. because they put that in for like mental health provisions. I don't think they could take that away.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It'd be stupid if they do.
Okay, so it's like the first part of lockdown number 1, but with support bubbles if you're on your own.
Yeah, it doesn't mention support bubbles.
Yeah, it must just sort of been like a given that it keeps going then, because it's kept going to 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I think they might as well just keep it in number 5. I don't think that's a big difference.
Yeah.
What it? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. What a world.
I'm not surprised by anything anymore, to be honest.
So basically the biggest thing on that is probably like the sports things closing, because I mean, not going out for non-essential stuff, I mean, you can't really anyway when all the non-essential shops are closed and you can't go to restaurants or anything.
Westwood's open, I read.
Where? They're open for takeaways.
Yeah, but Swarovski and all that's open. That's Mum's saw.
That's not allowed. Then non-essential. In tier 4, non-essentials have to be closed. Unless they're open inside and they're doing deliveries. Like people ordering and then they're just like...
Yeah, it doesn't say close. It says close is 8 p.m.
Yeah, there could just be an outdated sign or something though. But you're not allowed to be open as in like people can walk in there. That's literally against tier 4 rules. So it would definitely be against tier 5. But anyway, guys, this is the confusion we now live in. When you have to like refresh gov.uk every other day just to check you're not breaking the law by doing something that would, you know, in other years be totally normal and completely acceptable. But that's where we are, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even with all of this going on, the Prime Minister has said we've got to redouble our efforts to contain the virus. That's fun. Oh, and in the background right now, I've got the coronavirus Downing Street briefing. It's muted, but as we record this podcast, I've got it on in the background. Nearly all of England will be in tier 3 or 4 of coronavirus restrictions. That's fun.
Love that. They should have just kept it.
There you go. We should have just stayed in the bloody first lockdown the entire year. I mean, we're basically at the same spot now. All we did was have a bit of a looser summer. But all that's probably meant is more people are dead. So maybe it's not worth it. Secondary schools and colleges in England to reopen on January 18th. So what we said earlier is absolutely confirmed now. Although, you know, by the time you listen to this, they might change their minds again. It might be a January 1st open.
How's everything in New Zealand? How is my favourite Prime Minister doing in New Zealand? Let's find out. Because I saw that after 100 days, someone had COVID. I just want to see. Right now they're playing cricket and they beat Pakistan. Love that. I just want to see what they're doing. Because, oh my god, it's gone so low. 0? Oh, that's so cool. They had 5 cases on the 5th. They've had 0 cases yesterday. They had 55 cases, 2,000 recovered, 25 dead. Yeah, New Zealand is... I just saw an article called Lessons from New Zealand's COVID Outbreak Response. Love that.
Yeah, it seems like we could do a bit of it seems like we could do a bit of learning from them after all this, doesn't it?
No, but everyone's saying that, oh, New Zealand's a little island, like it's easy to contain. We can still learn from them. We can still implement the same rules that they did. Yeah, we're a massive island, but that doesn't mean the same rules can't be implemented.
We aren't that big.
That's what people say.
Yeah, well, people seem to have this really ridiculous idea that the UK is like a lot bigger and more powerful than we actually are. And that sort of leads us quite nicely into Brexit.
Yeah.
So there you go. So we've done November really. We were just, you know, second national lockdown and it ended. And then in December, which is the month we are currently on the brink of, we're on the brink of the end of, I should say. We're at the end of December now, 2020, and as we've said before, a lot of people have passed away. We've got 2 new vaccines on the horizon, plus a new strain in the UK and several others elsewhere, such as in South Africa. And where was the other one you said? India?
Something with India and about a UK person test positive, and it was like a different strain.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so we've got new strains, we've got mutants, but we've got vaccines, and it's a weird old time. It's a mixture of good and bad news. But what some people may see as good news, even if you were a Remainer in 2016, all those years ago, is that we are leaving Europe tomorrow. As you know, it's the 30th while we're recording this. We leave officially on the 31st, and we enter into the terms of the withdrawal agreement.
Is it 31st?
Yeah, tomorrow.
I thought it was the 1st.
The 1st is, it's like midnight on the 31st. So
oh, so it's the 1st, babe.
Well, it's the same thing. It's sort of like when they said, so at the end of December we were allowed relaxed restrictions for Christmas, which isn't really fair because Eid, Diwali, Hanukkah, so many other celebrations didn't get this, but Christmas did, because capitalism and racism, etc., and this like superiority complex of that religion and people that follow it, including me.
Yeah.
There we go. Anyways, so because of that, and we had relaxed restrictions from like the 5 days around Christmas, and it was like, but they changed it at the last minute. I think it was on Christmas Eve. They said that Boxing Day, the 26th, we went into tier 4 restrictions. So by the 26th, what they actually meant was midnight on the 25th. So that meant that you had to go home on the 25th so that you weren't in the wrong place when you woke up on the 26th, because then you were breaking the rules and you could get fined.
Oh yeah, it was people leaving. Was it people leaving on the 23rd or 24th when they found out that London, you can't celebrate Christmas with your properly because of lockdowns. People started leaving, and if you left after midnight, you'd get arrested or something.
I don't know specifically for London, because obviously I'm not there, but yeah, if you were trying to...
Yeah, I remember, yeah. Because stations were stocked up.
Yeah, it's been absolutely insane. So that was mental, because obviously Christmas was cut short, because you had to leave during Christmas Day, otherwise you'd be in the wrong place when tier 4, for most of us, came in on the 26th, which is literally, it was midnight, so it wasn't like midnight on the 26th where you could stay on Christmas night and leave leisurely on Boxing Day. You had to leave on the day you're supposed to be like drinking a lot and celebrating, and you can't drink and drive, so that ruined a lot of people's Christmases. So that's the sort of same thing. But Brexit, so yeah, we leave the European Union midnight 31st/1st, depending which minute either side you want to count it on, basically a day and a bit. And all the rules are changing. We enter into the terms of the withdrawal agreement, which is on gov.uk if you want to know how that specifically affects you. And we have a deal. We have an actual deal.
Yes, the big binder that Boris Johnson was
celebrating. Him and Ursula and several other people, they've all been signing it. It's been passed around the people that it needs to go around. There's been photo shoots taken, and it's good to go. And even though people aren't necessarily happy with all the terms of the deal, nobody would be, because there are so many different opinions on every single aspect of this.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to get voted. It's got to be voted through, but people seem pretty confident that it will be voted through, because Sir Keir Starmer has said that Labour officially back it, and most of the Tory MPs back it.
Oh.
So yeah, well.
No, I read that it's not the best deal though. Yeah, I think the Telegraph said it's a rubbish deal.
Well,
apparently
they could have done, or they probably were quoting, because Sir Keir Starmer said it's not the best deal. He doesn't really like the deal, but he said it's better than no deal. And he said, like, basically, considering it's taken us 4.5 years to get this far, he was like, do you know what? We'll take it. And we'll deal with the fine print and the details of it later. But right now we've got a deal, and it's looking more like a Canada style than an Australia, which is great, because we wanted a Canada, not an Australia, because Australia is politician code for no deal, and we didn't want a no deal because that would wreck the border stuff and it would just cause so much tension. And this month we already saw how bad that sort of attention would be when Macron closed the French border with us, and then we had everybody stranded in Dover. All the delivery trucks couldn't get through. People couldn't get home. This was literally days before Christmas. And onto Christmas, people were still stuck there because of our brand new mutant virus strain. France went, nope, you're not coming in. And then we had all these trucks stuck, and people were like, the shops were emptying. People were concerned we wouldn't get the produce in and out, and it was a bit mad. So, you know, we're glad that we now don't have a no deal, because then that would have happened again, but for longer, because you couldn't just solve it by sending the army in with a load of swab kits to test all the drivers. So, you know, it's good news. We have a deal. We can deal with the fine print of it.
Yeah, I mean, a no deal would have been really bad for I believe it's for the working class. It wouldn't have benefited them. Only benefit like the rich people if we had a no deal. That's what the rich people really wanted it.
Yeah, some of the rich, some people with a lot of money did, but it would have hurt some people and it would have benefited others, even in the upper echelons. It depended what your business was, basically. You know, whether you do well or not. But yeah, it's nice to know we have a deal. It's nice to see that Bojo and Ursula are getting on, that things seem like they might be less rocky, so that we've just got one less thing to be panicking about, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it's the last thing we expected as well.
It is, and they, you know, they came to a conclusion on this deal on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, it was a Christmas Eve miracle, and I think basically, in my head, it's just all of these like pizzaed up, because they were eating pizza the entirety of this negotiation. All these pizza-filled politicians sat at the table going, look, lads, do we really still want to be talking about this on Christmas Day, or do we want to go home and get smashed? So that's why I believe they agreed to it. I think they were like, let's
Also, it's a pandemic, being like, they don't really have Brexit on their mind. I think everyone forgot about Brexit when the pandemic happened.
I mean, we did. A couple people that are involved in the negotiation probably didn't, and I think it was in the back of Bojo's mind. But they did agree, didn't they, when the pandemic was kicking off, that they were going to put Brexit on the back burner and just come back to it later. But I'm glad it's sorted. Yeah. We're going into 2021. Yeah. We've got the withdrawal agreement.
With a deal.
Yeah, we've got the withdrawal agreement, we've got the deal, we've got 2 vaccines. I mean, everything else, we're sorting it. There's a bit of hope, and it's nice to have that little bit of hope. That's what we need. We need a bit of hope. Even though we can't really celebrate New Year's, and yeah, there's mutant things, and we're still in viruses, and we don't know when we're going to go back to school. For most people, they're going to go back middle of January, but it could get delayed. It's going to be mass testing. We've got more tiers. You might be going into tier 5. We're already in tier 4. 75% of the UK is in tier 4 or tier 3. Things are a bit rough right now, but we got hope, and I think that's pretty much it. Another bit of hope, not specifically the UK, but we can't summarise 2020 without including something really, really very important, and that is, of course, that there will be a new president next year.
Of the United States.
Exactly.
What is it, in January, the something specific coronation day?
Coronation day. Inauguration day.
Inauguration, that's it. I was thinking of the Queen coronation.
You were. The Queen.
Inauguration day, Trump's gonna leave, Biden's gonna come in and hopefully obviously can't fully fix everything, but hopefully do some good compared to what Trump's done.
Or at least not do that much more bad. If we can just have a president that doesn't
you can't really do that, you can't really go worse than what Trump's done then, can you? You can only be better from there.
We never know. With the way that the world is right now, we never know. But the thing is, I've got hope for him because Obama gives his approval. We already saw him in a position of power when he was the vice president, and he didn't seem to screw up that badly. You know, him, and when he was Obama's second in command, everything seemed to be okay. You know, he knows how things run because he's been in that bit, not quite that position, but he's been in that bit before, and he gets on with the UK. You know, it's chill. Everything's okay. Yeah. Everything will be fine. He's got the most diverse cabinet. I mean, he's got his vice president, who is the first female.
Kamala Harris.
Exactly. First female. She's, what is it, South
Asian, black.
Everything. So
South Asian, black vice president.
Yeah, and she's married to he's Jewish, isn't he? She's married to a Jew, so
I don't know.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
there we go. There's a lot that can be sorted just by that, and I think his own sort of like the people that he's surrounding himself with are the most diverse so far. Obviously, he could always do better. Everybody could always do better. At the end of the day, it's still an old, straight, white man that will be president.
But a better straight white man.
A slightly better one. Not as good as he's not as liberal as Bernie Sanders, but he's pretty centred. His politics, I would say, are more central, and maybe that's sort of what the US needs right now, just to unify them a little bit, because he isn't eccentric and people do sort of know him already. They can maybe get behind him a bit more. Obviously, we need to see Trump leave first, and just his really.
If he'll leave, we'll kick him out. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean the Secret Service have said they can remove him. Yeah. So it'll be nice, Joe Biden as president, vaccines out here being rolled out, maybe eventually tiers being lifted, things slowly. I feel like 2021 things will slowly but steadily get back to normal, and I hope that.
And hopefully we'll graduate.
Hopefully we'll graduate.
I want my cap and gown, Shan.
You want them or you've got them?
I want them. I want my cap and gown. I want to do my boomerang.
Bro, it'll be online. I'm pretty sure our graduation will be online. It'll be a live stream.
Shut. I don't want it to be.
I mean, I don't mind because the 2020 graduates had Beyonce speak, so whatever.
Shut up. I want my own personal calling on the stage and I'll wave. That's what I want. I don't care about Beyonce, I'm sorry.
Sacrilege.
I care about someone handing me my degree.
I will throw it at you if you say such a thing again. So, have we missed anything, or is that our 2020 roundup?
We probably have. We missed everything, probably.
I mean, it is very UK central. If you haven't guessed, we're in the UK, so everything else is sort of just not that it's not important. We give a shout. Obviously, there was the whole Nigerian SARS thing that went down, and there's been loads of other things in other countries popping up that were major and are ongoing. So keep an eye out for all the charity stuff and all the campaigns and everything you should be aware of still. But yeah, we will do something dedicated to the other stories. In 2021 with our new series, we will incorporate them and sort of talk about awareness and campaigns and things going out. We'll talk about movements of the future. I think that would be quite nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, that'd be cute. So yeah, that's our roundup. That's our roundup of 2020. We will see you later in 2021. So that is us. That is our 2020 roundup. We will see you in the new year, as I said, with all of the trimmings, and we'll try and fire up these things a bit. But as I did say, it will still be amateur content because that is what we are. So with that said, we wish you a very happy new year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and we will see you in 2021. Damn, 2 days.
2021.
Yes, this will be out on New Year's Day, hopefully. Graduation.
It will be out when I say it will be out, but it will get out eventually.
Yeah, hopefully it will be out in the first few days of New Year.
Yeah, I can't guarantee that, but okay.
Alright then. That is goodbye from me.
That's goodbye from me.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the new year, guys. Bye.
Bye.